So much at stake and so little control over what happens next. That may be going through your mind if your marriage is dissolving or you're kind of looking at a divorce situation, unfortunately. Now you need a divorce strategy. And there's an alternative strategy that's becoming increasingly popular. It's called collaborative divorce. That's why we're visiting with Janice Mattingly. She works on collaborative divorces. Janice, thanks for joining us on WowBiz TV. Tell us, what is collaborative divorce exactly?
Collaborative divorce is a process by which the parties and their legal counsel work together through various four-way meetings, through collaborating on discovery, and through working through issues, all issues of the divorce, division of assets, parenting time, and custody.
Okay, so what are the clear benefits if collaborative divorce goes well and is better than the traditional divorce? Why is it better again?
You have control of your destiny. That's the number one reason, in my opinion, as to why collaborative is the best method.
So it's a control and power and timing thing?
It allows the parties to control the destiny of their family, which is what they intended to do when they were married. What we're trying to do is to set that up so that they can continue to control their destiny for their children and to raise healthy, happy, well-adjusted children.
I see.
But if they don't have children, it's still a good process because, or still a collaborative is still a good method for them because they can work together to divide their assets in an appropriate fashion. We certainly look at the law. We look at statute and case law, both for property division, alimony or maintenance, and parenting time and custody.
But what about the whole court process? I never know exactly how long it's going to take to go through a divorce, and how does collaborative divorce impact the timeline?
Collaborative divorce puts it on your timeline and on your control. You schedule your meetings when it's a good time for you.
Sure.
Courts, if we're litigating, we have no control over the court calendar. We may call the court and work with them to schedule it, but we're still working around the court's calendar. That court calendar may go out 3 months, may go out 6 months, may go out 8 months, may go out a year, depending on how much time that you need.
That's got to be so rough because in today's world, everybody's got a super jam-packed schedule and it's not flexible easily. You know, it's not always something so you're no longer relying on the judge, frankly, insofar as this process is concerned, right?
Correct. The judge isn't a part of the collaborative process, although we do have the experience being in front of judges. Collaborative divorce lawyers are also litigators. We are lawyers. We like to win. We like to litigate. Obviously, that's why we went to law school.
Sure.
So we know what judges are going to do. We know the law. And so it's not that the judge is in the room with us, but our experience with judges and opinions related to the law and their interpretation of the law, specifically in this specific county or in the state, obviously that's going to be a consideration.
Sure. Now, Janice Mattingly, obviously families with children, it's a very emotional thing, and some people are grieving, and it becomes a real big psychological issue, not just a financial issue.
Correct.
How does collaborative divorce impact that scenario?
In collaborative practice, we use divorce coaches to work with the parties so that if a party is having a problem working through the grieving process or having a problem accepting the divorce process.
Right, which is very common.
They can't make good decisions if either party, if they're not in the right frame of mind.
Right.
So what we look at is we have the parties go to divorce coaches to work with them to get them to the point where they can make good decisions.
So therapy is always a part of the collaborative divorce process?
It's not always a part. If it's necessary, we refer them out to divorce coaches.
Okay.
Just like if we feel like there's a children's issue that needs to be addressed, that lawyers, we don't have that psychological background, we may need to hire a child specialist or a child neutral.
Okay. So if you sit down at the table for a collaborative divorce and your partner has a traditional litigator, and you're a collaborative attorney, do they work into the process? Is it okay, or are they pushing for a win-lose and you're win-win? I mean, how does it work?
Collaborative practice is a process by which both attorneys have to be trained collaboratively.
Oh, okay, I didn't know that.
So we're sitting down at the table together, we're working through a collaborative process according to our collaborative training.
Okay, all right, I got it. Now, a traditional litigator, what would he or she say if they were watching this interview and trying to analyze the pros and cons of collaborative divorce? It sounds like such a common sense, foresighted strategy, but there's got to be some weaknesses there.
If I were to put my litigator hat on, what I would say is if a case can settle, I can settle it. I can either settle it with the other attorney or I can settle it in mediation or some other kind of alternative dispute resolution.
Okay.
That is true to a certain extent. However, once you put that litigation hat on, you are focused in on advising your client more toward the win,
Yes.
without really looking at the whole picture of what that win may cost in the long run.
Yes, it is a longer term view, and collaborative divorce seems to be more holistic.
Absolutely.
Right, and maybe more sensitive to the nuances of the relationship and the children and how it's going to be in 5 or 10 years rather than how much money I get next month.
The division can be a yes in a property division, and we also look at financial specialists to come in, financial neutrals to come in and give advice too, because it may be a 50-50 division pursuant to the law. However, what does that mean? Is it going to be, oftentimes we can divide property that is a yes for both.
Right.
If somebody needs the cash money up front, where somebody may be focusing more on the retirement, we look at the whole picture of what is going to be good for these parties at the time of the divorce and then in the future.
Okay.
Same thing with children. We want those children to be adjusted adults.
Yes.
So we're going to look at what can we do now so that when they're grown, they're well adjusted, happy, and happily married.
Boy, that seems like such an important consideration, much more sensitivity to the longer term.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Well, when people are thinking about choosing a divorce strategy or looking at this, how do you bring it up to a spouse who at this point is contentious and defensive and whatever? How do you move from, we probably need a divorce, to let's go talk to a collaborative divorce attorney? How do you make that step?
I usually advise people to ask their spouse to Google it themselves or research it themselves, because when you're in a divorce situation, you already don't trust that spouse, so you're not going to take their advice.
Right.
So I ask them to advise or ask their spouse to do the research independently, and also to ask the litigator what kind of discovery are you going to do? How much is that going to cost? In a collaborative, we do that informally. It's much less expensive.
Yes.
Do you anticipate depositions? In collaborative, we don't do that. Depositions are very expensive. In collaborative, we don't do a deposition. We have the person come in and tell the story.
It seems to be pretty effective.
Right, exactly. And you're going to be able to ask all of the questions. You're not going to be bound to the formalities of a deposition. Or, for example, ask the litigator, how long till we get into court? How expensive is a hearing?
Right.
What is the effect of the hearing? What are the chances of winning on what issues? What we do at the table in collaborative is, again, we give you control of your destiny. It's not she's going to win or he's going to lose, but what is the best process?
All right, well, collaborative divorce, all about empowerment and considering the future, all the implications. It's a very interesting alternative strategy, maybe right for you. Thanks for watching us here on LawBiz TV. I'm Len Hinderrocker.